So let's just settle into a comfortable seated position. And as usual, for those of you who are sitting at your desk with the feet down, feet really try and make contact with the floor, with the feet, the soles of the feet. That's just one way to ground ourselves, you know. And the knees about a hip's width apart. Shoulders are aligned with the hips. And imagine your spine is a string of pearls of light stretching from the base all the way up to the crown of the head and beyond. Put some space in between the vertebrae as we begin to turn inwards. You know, our last practice for some of us as we settle down and move towards sleep. Mama Rinpoche used to say that this was the best thing you could do before you go to bed, is this practice. Because while you're asleep, you can't make any, can't create any negative karma intentionally, anyway. And motivation, as you probably heard, is a big factor in creating negative karma. So anyway, we're motivating here. But first of all, just go to the crown of the head and relax the scalp, the forehead, the eyes, the nose, the cheeks. Just your whole face and jaw, back of the head, neck and shoulders, and just the front of the neck, the throat and the chest, and then release the belly and just relax all your limbs, fingers, toes. Bring the mind to the breath and be aware of the sensation of the air as you're inhaling and exhaling. Notice if there are any sounds in the environment and just allow those sounds to be there, trying not to follow with the mind. Just stay present in this practice this evening. And then just to check what thoughts might be arising in the mind. And just try not to follow those thoughts off into a little story or criticize yourself. You know, however it is you're showing up this evening, it's totally fine. And then bring to mind all the people of your life, your loved ones, the not so loved ones, and the strangers, and remembering they can all change place at any time, these relationships. Constantly shifting and changing. And then they're all equal in their wish to be happy and their wish to be free from suffering and having this extraordinary capacity for Buddhahood. So you can think we'll motivate to do this meditation this evening. You can bring to mind whoever you like, I mean, there's lots of strife in many parts of the world right now. The New York Times has a morning audio, summary of the morning news, and now they've just devoted that. They've moved it to the evening, and they've devoted the whole segment to Israel, what's going on over there. So that's very, very much foremost in many people's minds. I think there is no negativity that cannot be purified, and this purification process is basically a psychological one. We create negativity with our mind, we can equally change the mind and create positivity instead. So we're doing this practice of Vajrasattva in the context of the 4 opponent powers. So we start with the power of regret. So sincerely regret from the depths of your heart anything you have done to harm any living being on this day, in this life, and in all of your past lives. And think of specific actions of both your body and your speech, and then in general regret all. And the reason to regret is based on this logic of karma. And we experience everything due to our past karma, our past actions. So having harmed others, we ourselves will necessarily experience suffering in the future. So we already know from our present suffering, we don't want any more. So logically, it makes sense to remove those karmic seeds before they ripen as future suffering for us. So we think like this. I regret from the depths of my heart, having harmed others with my body and my speech, having broken my vows, because I do not want the future suffering. I'm sick of suffering, and also regret any attachment, anger, and the rest are delusions, basically, that are the cause of why we harm others. And then think again, I'm sick of this suffering. And then think, what can I do about it? Whom can I turn to? So here we come to the power of reliance. We rely upon, we turn to the Buddha, who we see as a doctor rather than a higher power or a God or something. So we see him as he just has the methods that we can use to purify. So we're not wanting him to forgive us. Some religions, they ask, you see this higher power and that person has power over you to forgive you. It's not like that in this case. So you imagine Vajrasattva above the crown of your head, facing the same way as you. You can also imagine this is the mind of your teacher manifesting in this form for your benefit. And he's made of this beautiful, radiant, blissful white light, sitting cross-legged on a white lotus and a moon cushion. And although born out of mud, untainted by mud, just like our enlightened potential, which is born out of our delusions, but yet untainted by them. He has this beautiful, radiant face. His eyes are shaped like lotus petals, and they're peaceful and full of love and compassion for you and all those people of your life. He has a sweet red mouth. His hair is black and held up in a top knot. His arms are crossed at his heart, the left underneath the right. The left is holding a bell representing wisdom, and the right is holding a vajra, which represents the indestructibility of compassion, and their being crossed represents the union of these two, which symbolizes enlightenment itself, the development of infinite wisdom and infinite compassion. To the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened. By this practice of meditating on Guru Vajrasattva, may I reach Buddhahood so as to benefit all sentient beings. So we have this little section on compassion and how to develop it. So we think about, we're relying on other beings. This is why it's in that section called reliance. So the very beings we have harmed. So we think of those and then develop a wish for them to be free from suffering, which may be in the suffering that we caused. So that just kind of maps onto this idea of regret as well. It's all kind of just very nicely fits in all together, this practice. And then remember those who have harmed you, and rather than having anger towards them, have compassion for them, because the suffering they've caused you is going to undoubtedly ripen as suffering for them in the future. And the timing of that suffering is maybe very inconvenient. So make a strong aspiration to do this practice of purification for the sake of all these beings, and think I must purify for their sake. So now we come to the power of the remedy, and this is the medicine, doing the practice of purification. And we start with the body, and Vajrasattva very compassionately sends powerful white nectar, like coming out of a hose, quite forcefully from his heart, and it arcs around and enters your crown and pours into your entire body, filling you completely, and it keeps pouring into you until it forces out of your lower orifices all the harm you've ever done to any living being with your body in the form of inky liquid, and this pours out of you and disappears into space, not one atom left, as we recite the mantra. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dira Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Supokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasedi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tatagata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva A Hompe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dira Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Supokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasedi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tatagata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva A Hompe Am Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Supokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasedi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tatagata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva A Hompe Am Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Supokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasedi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tatagata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva A Hompe Am Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Supokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasedi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tatagata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva A Hompe Am Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Supokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasedi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tatagata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva A Hompe Am Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Supokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasedi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tatagata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva A Hompe. So be delighted that all the harm you've ever done to any sentient being with your body is now completely purified, and think there's no way you could do anything but benefit others now with your body. So next is the purification of our speech, and Vajrasattva very happily sends powerful nectar from his heart chakra, and it arcs around and forcefully enters your crown and fills your entire body, except this time forcing up to the top of your body all the negativity of your speech, which overflows and disappears into space, not one atom left. So just imagine all the gossip and the harsh speech and the useless speech and lying and talking badly about others behind their backs, getting other people to agree with you. All of this is purified by this powerful nectar filling you as you recite the mantra. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Supokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasedi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tatagata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva A Hompe Am Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Supokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasedi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Siddhi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Siddhi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Siddhi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Siddhi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Siddhi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe. So again, feel really happy that your speech is now completely purified and imagine it's not possible to do anything but benefit others now with your speech. And the next is the purification of your mind, and Vajrasattva now very compassionately sends powerful beams of light from his heart chakra, and this arcs around and enters your crown and fills your entire being. So just the same as when you walk into a pitch black room and you flick on that switch, it instantly dispels the darkness, the light. So just imagine here, the moment the light hits your heart chakra, all the darkness of the negativity of your mind. So this is the light from Vajrasattva's heart. All the attachment and neediness and anger and depression, anxiety, resentment, jealousy, bitterness, grudges, all of this instantly dispelled, not one atom left. Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Siddhi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Siddhi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Siddhi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Siddhi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Siddhi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta me boa sawa sidi mimpi yatta sawa kama sita me. Sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan. Sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hompe. Vajrasapa samaya manupalaya vajrasapa dina patita. Dita me boa sutokaya me boa sipokaya me boa. Anorakta me boa sawa sidi mimpi yatta sawa kama sita me. Sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan. Sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hum pe. So again, delighted that all your delusions, which are the source of all of our own suffering and the cause of why we harm others with our body and our speech, are completely purified. And think that there's no space in your heart now for anything other than love and kindness and forgiveness and wisdom and bliss and compassion. So next is the purification of even the imprints of negativity of the body, speech, and mind. And imagine that Vajrasattva, again, very happily, sends light and nectar, and it fills you completely and eradicates even the subtlest imprints of negative energy from the mind as we recite the mantra. Vajrasappa samaya manupalaya vajrasappa dina patita dida meboa sutokaya meboa supokaya meboa anarakta meboa sawa sidi mimpi yatta sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hom pe vajrasappa samaya manupalaya vajrasappa dina patita dida meboa sutokaya meboa supokaya meboa Anarakta me boa sawa sidi mimpi yatta sawa kama sita me. Sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan. Sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hom pe. Vajrasappa samaya manupalaya vajrasappa dina patita. Dida me boa sutokaya me boa sipokaya me boa. Anarakta me boa sawa sidi mimpi yatta sawa kama sita me. Sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan. Sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hompe. Vajrasappa samaya manupalaya vajrasappa dina patita. Dida meboa sutokaya meboa sipokaya meboa. Anarakta meboa sawa sidi mimpi yatta sawa kama sita me. Sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan. Sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hompe. Vajrasappa samaya manupalaya vajrasappa dina patita dida meboa sitokaya meboa sipokaya meboa anarakta meboa sawa sidi mimpi yatta sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hompe vajrasappa samaya manupalaya vajrasappa dina patita dida meboa sitokaya meboa sipokaya meboa Anarakta meboa sawa sidi mimpi yatta sawa kama sita me. Sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan. Sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hompe. Vajrasappa samaya manupalaya vajrasappa dina patita. Dida meboa sitokaya meboa sipokaya meboa. Anarakta meboa sawa sidi mimpi yatta sawa kama sita me. Sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan. Sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hum pe. So now feel completely purified. Just imagine not one atom of negativity is left in your mind stream. Even the subtlest obscurations to your enlightenment have been removed. And now we come to the power of resolve. And this is the fourth and quite crucial step in the purification processes, where we make a determination to not harm with our body and our speech and our mind. And we just have to decide. We have to, if we do anything, we need to decide to do it. So we just have to decide. And I know easier said than done, but we just have to keep saying it over and over again. And without this, we keep doing the same old things. This determination, this aspiration to not harm becomes like a beacon that guides our body and our speech and our mind in new directions. So Lama Zopa Rinpoche used to say, everything exists on the tip of the wish. That's so sweet. You have to want it. So think of something that you've been working on. Remember, if you're journaling, you know, it's kind of inspiring to look back and see where you've come from, like they do in the mountains, like Annie last said to do in the mountains. She said, don't look up to where you're going, because she said you'll get tired. But if you look down, if you look back at the trail that you've come up from, she said it's very encouraging. So think like that. And this decision and determination to not do things, to refrain from doing things, it just gives us some kind of strength. That, in a way, puts some guardrails in place for us to hold on to. So imagine Vajrasattva is delighted with us and wanting to merge with your mind, melts into white light and absorbs into you through your crown, and think, my Guru's body, speech, and mind, and Vajrasattva's body, speech, and mind, and my own body, speech, and mind are the same. So next, Lamso Rinpoche recommended to meditate on the emptiness of the three circles. So in emptiness, there is no I, the creator of negative karma. There is no action of creating negative karma, and there is no negative karma created. So at whatever level you understand emptiness, just place your mind there for a little while. You can think of all phenomena as being empty. They do not exist from their own side. You can also think that the way things are appearing to me may not necessarily be the way they actually exist. So let's just dedicate all the merit, all the positive energy you've created doing this practice to all living beings, and think particularly of all those beings who are now affected by or partaking in some kind of war or violence towards others. Just a horrible, terrifying situation. So I think maybe may all the virtuous karma I've created from doing this practice ripen as my enlightenment for the sake of sentient beings as quickly as possible. And let's make a strong wish for His Holiness the Dalai Lama to have a long life, and a happy and a long life, happy, healthy, long life, and for all of Lamso Rinpoche to return swiftly, unmistaken reincarnation, and then for all of your own teachers, may they have long lives. Okay, everyone, lots of love. Good night. I'll see some of you tomorrow morning. I'll think about what we're doing, but it probably will be Tara if you want to come. Okay. All right, everyone. Good night. Thank you so much. Thanks for hosting my hosts. Okay.